All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Jonathan Singer, Senior Director of Policy Programs, and welcome to the kickoff for our election season with our City Council Candidate Forum. So all the candidates were invited here tonight. We have 10 of the 11, and while this feels like opening day of election season, I know it's a little rainy out there right now, but we've got a wonderful element of sunshine with all of the phenomenal ideas that we'll hear. So I want to include a special thanks before we start to the Williams family and Xcel Energy, our sponsors of this event, who have made this available and free and open to the public for everyone to enjoy. So thank you. Join me in thanking them. Next, I want to thank all of our partners that participated in this. And so if our partners are present and you want to stand and wave, I want to thank the Latino Chamber, Community Cycles, Downtown Boulder Partnership, Boulder Area Rental Housing Association, Boulder Realtors, the Community Foundation of Boulder, and the County Human Services Alliance. Thank all of our partners for helping us develop the questions for today. And last but not least, we will also want to thank our policy partners, Seawald Hampfling, CRL Associates, the Ignition Strategy Group Onsite, and Squire Patton Boggs. And before we begin, as a few of you may have noticed at the very beginning of this event, when you signed up for this event, you signed on to something called a community agreement. And we saw it at the front desk again. I know that we today are in some of the most challenging, horrific political times. And I think it comes down to a couple of things. It comes down to fear, and fear reigns when we can't talk to each other. And we can't talk to each other if we don't listen. And the community agreements are about stopping discrimination. Anyone there with me on that one? They are about making sure that we respect each other's views, even if we disagree with each other's view. Are we all there on that one? And we can't talk to each other if we can't listen. We have given each of our candidates equal time tonight. Do we all agree to equally listen to all of our candidates tonight? This is how we bring back democracy the way it belongs tonight. So thank you for your agreement to those things. And before we go too far into this, I want to invite you all to listen to someone who's not running for office, but our CEO and President, John Teyer.
Thanks, Jonathan. So I will be very quick because staff team told me keep it quick. But I want to say, just acknowledge, this is why I love this man, setting the right tone for this community discussion. I am so thankful that we have such an excellent turnout for this event. Applaud all of you for this engagement at the front end of our city council election. Shows what an engaged community we have. I also acknowledge the candidates. As those folks know, we do not take, as the Boulder Chamber, positions on elected officials. We consider ourselves partners with those who get elected and those who are running for office, making sure that they understand where the Boulder Chamber comes down on policy issues. This is our first introduction to all of those who are running in this election, and I know that it's not easy getting up in front. In fact, I think some of you have said, I'm nervous. So I will acknowledge that this is a big step for those who are running for office, and thank you for your commitment to public service. And then finally, I just want to re-acknowledge our partners. The Boulder Chamber is a community organization. We recognize that our economy and our businesses thrive only if we have a strong community, and all of you, our partners, represent elements of a strong community. And so it's together that we come before you in bringing this forum to our community, and look forward to learning a lot about our candidates and then educating everybody to vote their own interests, and then we move forward as a community together. So this is the beginning of that step. Take it away, Jonathan.
All right. Now, there's only a handful of issues that we all face here in the city of Boulder, and so hopefully we'll be able to cover as many of them as possible. We've got a number of questions from a broad base, as you heard, our cross-section of organizations that have helped us organize this. But there's one other thank you I forgot to mention. Where are we right now? Our tax dollars just funded this big, beautiful space. Big, beautiful space funded by tax dollars. Thank you, Boulder Valley School District. This is promises made, promises kept. And just in case you were worried the technology was not working, the vape detector in the bathroom has already gone off once. That is not allowed on school district property. So whoever was doing that, we are not going to turn this into a question for the city council candidates. But if you'd like to identify who that is, don't do it here. Just feel free to not do that again. So we're glad the technology is working. And so with that, what I want to do is I want to encourage all of you, if in case you miss any questions that we asked today, please check out our YouTube page afterwards. And now, let's talk about the questions that we're going to ask before we invite our speakers up here. So we're going to talk about economic vitality, public safety, affordable housing, downtown Boulder investment, special districts, transportation, childcare costs, micromobility, and immigration. Now, before we talk about the rules, I do want to invite our council candidates up here in no particular order. We are going to start with, to my direct left, Mayor Pro Tem Lauren Folkerts, followed by Rachel Isaacson, followed by Council Member Matt Benjamin, Council Candidate Aaron Stone, best looking person named Mark Wallach, Council Member Mark Wallach, Candidate Rob Smoke, Candidate Rob Kaplan. This feels like graduation. Council Candidate Jenny Robbins, Council Candidate and Council Member Nicole Spear, and joining us online via Zoom in 2 dimensions to provide 3-dimensional answers, Council Candidate Max Lord. Let's give a quick round of applause to all of our council candidates in gratitude for their participation in our civic process. Now, as our council candidates find their assigned seats, we are going to just go through a quick version of what the rules are today. You will see a time card out in the audience, and I want to thank our timekeeper and sign holder, also from Boulder Transportation Connections, Boulder Chamber Transportation Connections, Darcy Kitching. So she has the toughest job in this room right now. I get to talk, she gets to tell us to stop. So what's going to happen is each candidate will have 1 minute to answer their question. At the end of 30 seconds, you are going to see a 30-second sign. Let's just do a quick test on that 30-second sign, visible to everybody. Amazing. And then at the end of that 30 seconds, there will be another 30 seconds, in which case you'll be invited to stop. And that's to make sure that we have enough time for all of our candidates to answer their questions. And then, in case someone doesn't stop, that's right. So if you're running out of time, you're going to hear the chime. All right, so with that being said, we want to make sure that all the candidates do get a chance to answer the questions that we will not have time to ask. So we've submitted them all to you in writing, and we will give you, by the beginning of next week, the end of this week, to reply in writing, and we will post those answers online for the audience and the viewing public to be able to observe. Now, thank you again for joining all of us, and this is what we're going to do next. This is arguably the most important question that we've got today. We're going to do introductions and an icebreaker. This is my favorite icebreaker and my favorite introduction. Besides loving Boulder, tell us who you are and the most compelling reason you're running for city council. So tell us why you love Boulder and why you're running for Boulder City Council. We see a few mics there, but we'll just go straight down the line from stage right to stage left. And when you're ready, we'll start the timer.
I'm Lauren Folkerts. I'm your Mayor Pro Tem, a local architect and a Boulderite for the past 15 years. I didn't become an architect because I love buildings. I became one because I love people. Whether I'm designing affordable housing, backyard cottages, or gentle infill projects. My focus has always been on creating places that are welcoming, inclusive, and sustainable. On City Council, I've brought that same approach, leading efforts to raise the minimum wage, cut red tape, reform our land use to expand affordable housing, and pass the nation's first embodied carbon building code for all new construction. I'm not chasing headlines, I'm chasing progress. I listen, collaborate, and work hard to turn our shared values into real change. Our housing crisis, climate crisis, and growing inequality are tough, interconnected challenges, but we are not afraid of complexity. Thank you.
Next up, Rachel.
Sweet. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Thanks for making it here through the rain. My name is Rachel Rose Isaacson. My public service journey began at 14, and by 17, I was drafting state legislation to protect LGBTQ youth in Ohio. And that passion led me to earn a bachelor's in political economics and a master's in public administration and leadership with training in public budgeting, policy analysis, and strategic resource management, skills essential for making responsible and equitable decisions on city council. Before making Boulder my home, I worked in regenerative education, organizing internationally attended conferences, empowering communities on how to build resilience in the face of economic, social, and environmental turbulence. Here in Boulder, I stay rooted in local life, advancing ecological stewardship as a pollinator ambassador with Cool Boulder, and connecting with neighbors daily as a barista at Southside Wana Cafe, so please support local businesses. I'm running to be Boulder's first Gen Z city councilwoman, not only to bring my generation's voice to the table, but to offer a systems-level thinking and collaborative leadership to meet the challenges we face today and those ahead. Thank you.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here this evening. My name is Matt Benjamin. I've had the genuine honor and privilege of serving you for the last 4 years on Boulder City Council. You know, one of the reasons I'm running for election is that we're at a critical moment, one that really demands that we have leaders that are both progressively valued and pragmatically driven in order to meet our community needs both now and into the future. You know, over the last 4 years, it's been my absolute pleasure to really think about these difficult issues that we've had for us and bring about real solutions, be it affordable and attainable housing for middle-income families, working on more robust transportation options, developing our first ever economic development strategy. These are all important things that we've done. But this election isn't about what I've done, it's about where we go from here. And that's why I believe that this community has an opportunity to really support having a place where our teachers, families, workers, and business leaders can live and thrive in this place. Again, my name is Matt Benjamin. I'm running for re-election so that we can keep pushing for progress. Thank you.
Councilmember Wallach.
Before I begin, I have to make one comment. Jonathan, that is a hell of an outfit. You are a bold man. My name is Mark Wallach. As I have served on council for 6 years, or 42 years in council years, many of you already know me. So tonight I will not be doing biography. I simply want to comment on how I believe I have conducted myself as a member of the council and how I will do so in the future. I believe I have been a substantive, thoughtful, and collaborative member of council. I ask hard questions and always look at proposals without any ideological bias. I do not do ideology. In fact, I only ask 3 questions about any program. Does it work? Can we and should we pay for it? And will it make the lives of people in Boulder better? The rest is noise. So if you think I have conducted myself so as to be worthy of your vote in November, I would be honored to receive it. Thank you.
Aaron Stone.
Hello, my name is Aaron. Aaron Stone. During the day, I'm a computer engineer, and we're working on my team to develop the first quantum operating system. It's a very busy job, and I don't know how I'm going to have time to do this, but I've made the time because I have seen the infighting that's been going on within our city council, and I think that right now we are facing one of the most important things of our entire generation. what's happening in Gaza. We see the genocide every day going on, but our Boulder Council, unfortunately, has not recognized that the genocide is actually happening. We do not have a lot of power to control politics at the national level, but what we do have is control over our investments. And there are at least 4 different companies we've identified that we think we can divest in that are actually benefiting from the genocide. Thank you.
Next up, Rob Kaplan.
I'm new, I need notes. Good evening, I'm Rob Kaplan. For more than 3 decades, I've invested my time and energy into this community. As a founder of Pro Peloton Bike Shop, where I built a small business from the ground up, and as a fire captain, where I led teams and collaborated across the city and county agencies to get real policy and safety measures in place. Whether in business, public service, or on the Parks and Recreation Board, my approach has always been pragmatic. I listen carefully, I build consensus, and I focus on solutions that truly work. Boulder deserves leadership that puts collaboration over ideology and results over rhetoric, and that's the kind of energy and leadership that I want to bring to City Council. Thank you.
Next up, Jenny Robbins.
Hello, my name is Jenny Robbins. I am chair of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I am co-chair of the Chamber of Commerce Community Affairs Council. Shout out to Jonathan Singer over there. And I'm on the Play Boulder Board Foundation. I have 2 daughters who are 13 and 15, and they attend BVSD public schools. I am running for 3 reasons. I think Boulder needs better good governance, economic vitality, and we need to find a way to bring families back to Boulder. We need more middle income and missing middle housing. And I want to say that I respect everyone who sits on council. I realize I'm running against 4 very, very strong incumbents, but I think that Boulder needs a change. We need to bring more balance to City Council, and I hope to be the candidate to do that. Thank you.
Councilmember Nicole Spear.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Spear. I've called Boulder home for 20 years. I'm a mom of 2 teens, a PhD scientist, a union member, and a current city council member. And until recently, I led a research facility at CU Boulder for over 13 years, supporting hundreds of local jobs and bringing in substantial federal funding. Like many in our community, I've now lost my job due to federal funding cuts. I've actively seen how the work that we do in the scientific community in Boulder and so many other areas are facing these economic headwinds at the federal level, and how this is affecting our families, our businesses, and our city's future. As a current council member, I've supported Boulder's investments in the infrastructure that businesses and residents need to stay safe in the current climate, and I mean climate in all the ways. I've championed our financial strategy work and transition to outcome-based budgeting. I understand how to align our community values with our financial strategy and how to stretch limited dollars for maximum impact. That's why I'm running for re-election. Thank you.
Next up, Rob Smoke.
My name is Rob Smoke. I'm running for the Boulder City Council. I've done it twice before. When I was finished in 2007, I thought, oh, thank God that's over. And here I am again, so no apologies, but my hat, I'm sort of a reverse hostage here. My hat says Maine on it, and I'm gonna leave that on for the whole campaign just to let people know that that's where I'll be going if I'm not elected, or quite possibly. I know there are a few incumbents on council whose faces light up at that. I want to just say that morality comes first for me, and we don't have it right now with our foreign policy, and we shouldn't be following in the footsteps of people making tragic, horrible mistakes in our federal government by supplying Israel with weapons and allowing it to continue, enabling it to continue in its disastrous genocide against the Palestinian people. So that's the main reason I'm running. Thanks.
Max Lord.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start by thank you to everybody for allowing me to attend virtually. I'm a builder in Boulder. Right now I am working with the Mackay Foundation in Maui. Unfortunately, my project was pushed back because of zoning. But I do hope that we can see that all as a commitment to my philanthropy and ideals and willingness to follow through with the things that I've said I will do. I'm a long-term resident of Boulder. I've been here for 14 years. I've worked for the university. I've worked for NCAR. Right now I do have a building firm. And I believe that the city has lost its way. I've watched a lot of the charm slip away, and I believe that the diplomacy and pragmatism that goes into running a small business is something that the city could use. You know, I've worked on multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects. I've also worked on small projects on many, many, many different homes in Boulder, and I will say that I've learned a lot more on those tiny projects working with the individual citizens, and I think that that has allowed me to keep a finger on the pulse of this town and what the people need.
And we're at time. I know you probably can't see the sign, but I'm glad you can hear me at least. So, all right. Well, that is our candidates started their opening statements. And now we are going to move on to some of our partners here. We're going to actually start with Downtown Boulder Partnership, represented by the illustrious Bettina Swigger. And just in case you were wondering what these hats were for, in order to be fair with this, we are going to pick some names out of a hat. So for question number 1, we're going to allow one candidate to answer. For question number 2, we're going to allow 2 candidates to answer. But Bettina, when you're ready with your question, feel free.
Thank you. Downtown Boulder is the heart of our city, and while we have a really vibrant downtown at the retail storefront level, we are dealing with a high office vacancy at around 29 or 30%. The city recently passed a new economic vitality plan. What are your thoughts on how to best implement that and how we should work on this together going forward?
And Bettina, if you would care to pick a name out of the hat. And the winner is Rachel Isaacson. Let's get the mic to Rachel.
I'm sorry, it's hard for me to process questions sometimes, but you're asking about the tax that covers some of the vacancies of the local businesses?
Yes, and
Sorry for taking up time
specifically
to that.
the economic vitality strategy that was recently adopted by the council.
Sweet. Okay. That's the first one. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to be prepared here. Can someone else go before me? Is that fair?
Here, we can do this.
I'm going to be taking up time.
We can do this here. And all those questions should be listed there in order. So I'm happy to. Yep, so should be the
thank
first
y'all.
question there.
Okay. I appreciate that Council has developed an economic vitality plan. Having a clear roadmap is important for how we attract and retain businesses in Boulder. What I'd like to see is a stronger emphasis on implementation and accountability. For me, economic vitality isn't just about supporting business. It's about making sure that our workforce, entrepreneurs, and residents can thrive here. That means addressing affordability so employees can live where they work, reduce barriers for small businesses to open and expand, and in strengthening partnerships with CU, the Chamber, and nonprofits. I'd also like us to be more proactive in aligning our economic vitality efforts with our climate and equity goals, because here in Boulder, our economy is strongest when it reflects our community's values. Thank you.
All right, now let's get ready for question number 2, where 2 names will be picked.
The city also recently commissioned a study to study the business improvement districts around the city, including downtown Boulder. In that study, there's a recommendation to form a DDA, or a Downtown Development Authority. What is your position on a DDA and how it should be funded?
All right, we got 2 more winners in this one. All right, first up is Mayor Pro Tem Folkerts.
I believe a DDA, a Downtown Development Authority, can be a strong tool if done thoughtfully. The key is that the funding mechanism should reinvest directly in the area that's supporting it. So the property or sales tax increment generated needs to go to improvements that keep that area vibrant, safe, and welcoming. We would want strong community oversight built into the DDA so businesses, property owners, and residents know their dollars are being spent in ways that reflect local priorities. And I'm open to using either a property or a sales tax increment generated downtown to directly fund the improvements of the district. I do think we need to be thoughtful about the map, who is included and who is excluded and why. One of my concerns is around the farmers market and whether or not they would make sense to be included in this. At the end of the day, the DDA should be about leveraging growth to support the heart of our city and do that in a fair and transparent way. Thank you.
And the next winner, last but not least, is Jennifer Robbins. Same question.
Hello. Trying to get closer to, I'm going to fall off the stage. I can't see anybody out there. I'd like to start by saying that economic vitality, our businesses, big and small, are the lifeblood of our community. We have over 50% of our budget is based on sales and use tax, so we have to be sure that our businesses are taken care of at every turn. And we have to do that by, first, streamlining our permitting process. And land use is my professional background, and in all the jurisdictions I've ever worked in, Boulder by far has the most complicated code. So we have to be sure that we take care of businesses from a policy perspective, from a streamlining permitting perspective, and we also have to be sure that we keep our streets clean and make people want to come downtown. As far as the DDA goes, I do agree with that as well. I think that we should create a downtown district, and I think that we should look to potentially put out a ballot measure to increase our property tax mill levy, so we have some room to work with how that works out, as long as all of the costs that go into that and all the taxes that go into that go to making sure that our businesses are taken care of. Thank you.
All right. Now, thanks again to Patina Downtown Boulder Partnership. Before we go to the next question, I want everyone, this is my Oprah moment, take a look under your chairs. You may find a whiteboard there. Does everyone have their whiteboard, their eraser, and their marker? No, we are not going to play Pictionary, unless you want to draw a pie chart of, sales and use tax or something. But, all right, does everyone have their whiteboard? And for our Zoom aficionado here, if you just want to write down on a piece of paper and hold it up to the screen, we are going to ask you a lightning round question. We're going to give you 15 seconds to respond to this. We'll also post it on the screen behind us. So, what percentage of the city's budget comes from sales tax revenues? What percentage of the city's budget comes from sales tax revenues? 15 seconds. Begin. I didn't say hold them up yet, but all right, 2 seconds remaining. Feel free to hold them up, and let's see, we have a few different answers here. So we have 30%, 30%, 80%, approximately 39%, 51%, 51% again, 55%. This is not the Price is Right, but is that 740% of the general fund? Oh, less than 40%. I also have terrible handwriting. Less than 40% of the general fund. More than 40% of the general fund. We've got a series of question marks, which very relatable, and 30. So let's go to the next slide and take a look here. This is according to the City Council, City of Boulder's website, actually. The answer is, drum roll, no need for a drum roll, is 29.3% as of last budget cycle, according to Boulder's own website. So now, what we're going to do is I'm going to pick 2 candidates at random to answer a question about our budget. So I know that some people think of the word constrained as almost a dirty word when we talk about the budget now, the city budget, right? There's a constrained city budget for lots of reasons. But given the constrained budget, we're going to give you each a minute each. We're going to pick 2 of you, a minute each. What are your top 3 priorities as a candidate? Given this constrained budget, what are your top 3 priorities? I'm going to pick 2 names at random here. First up is Aaron Stone. Second up will be Rob Kaplan.
Thank you. I've already said the first top priority for me, and that's divestment from Microsoft, Caterpillar, Toyota, and Oracle is the fourth one, all complicit in genocide in Gaza. Secondly, I want to remove constraints on builders for ADUs. Right now they can be expensive and complex to put in. I put a deck on my house a few years ago. I dealt with the planning and permitting office myself. Very difficult to work with, but I was a success at that, and it's difficult to build, so we need to remove those restrictions. And then third, lower rents for businesses. They're too expensive, and they're charging too much for our customers to come in. All of the greatest businesses are moving out to other cities. We want them back here in Boulder. Thank you.
All right. And Rob, you've got your microphone right next to you, actually, if you want to.
My top three would be, first, maintain what we have. We've got some city streets with a lot of potholes. We've got some snow plowing that probably could be better. We've got some parks and other facilities that are beautiful, and we just need to focus on the maintenance before we start another big project. If we do start another big project, we need to make sure that we can fund it and we can maintain it, and that it's giving back to the city of Boulder. And the third thing that I would really stress is accountability and transparency. When we have funds within a certain grouping, general fund or whatever it is, CCRS, we need to be accountable for where those funds are going, and they have to be measurable. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So that's how I would approach our budget.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, we have the Bolo Realtors, Teresa Lomax. So, Teresa, if you want to join us up here for your question. And we'll see if your mic works.
Does it work?
No.
It does not work. Thank you. It's a huge honor to be here tonight. My first question is, many working families have been pushed out of Boulder due to rising housing costs. What specific tools or incentives would you support to increase the supply of housing that's affordable to the missing middle residents like teachers, first responders, and city workers?
All right. Rob Smoke.
So my first take on this is that back in the day, I grew up in a co-op apartment that was built by a labor union in New York City. And there were partnerships between the state, the city, the labor union, anybody could be involved. And it should be sort of a standard thing that we'd be able to, say, fund housing for police and teachers and so forth by those partnerships, by creating circumstances where ownership might remain with the state, but the control and responsibility for developing a good living environment would be up to the people who are actually living there. And I grew up with that, and it's a pretty good model. It works pretty well, but it was started back in the 1950s, and it's sort of not very popular right now, but I think it's something that would be very helpful. Thanks.
All right, next question.
What's your perspective on how the city should grow and where? Are there any specific parts of town where you think additional housing density makes the most sense?
We're going to pick two names here. Teresa, help me out. Yeah, we got Councilmember Wallach and Councilmember Benjamin. All right, good thing you're sitting next to each other so you can use the microphone over there.
I think there's room for the city to grow in East Boulder in particular. But one of the things we're going to have to start doing is looking at growth in the context of our water supplies and whether we can continue to grow in a manner that does not take into account the supply of water to the city. And keep in mind that we are likely to have far less water in the coming years than we do today through the compact, through lack of runoff. All of our sources of water are likely to be constrained going forward. East Boulder, of course, is an area that is somewhat underdeveloped, and we can build more there. But again, we have to have some perspective in which we are relating growth to our capacity to service the people who are going to be living there. We don't do that today, and I think we need to.
All right. Next up is Matt Benjamin.
All right, let's take a collective breath. It's okay. You get a taste of what we deal with every other Thursday, unfortunately. With regards to your question, which is really critically important because it addresses core issues here in our community, which is what we were elected to focus on, and which is what I'm going to focus on, are the core issues that affect our community and our residents and the people that come, visit, and work here every day. What's really important with regards to housing and where we can appropriately have people live in our community, one, I would start with following suit with a really important bill that came out of the governor's office, which is called transit-oriented communities. And this is putting infill in areas along our transit corridors. And I'm proud to say that I've been already working towards that, working with a great idea from Councilmember Lauren Forkards on family-friendly, vibrant neighborhoods is starting to do just that, allowing maybe some duplexes and some townhomes along our transit corridors. These are critically important things. The other thing we need to think about is our Area 3 Planning Reserve up north. This is a 500-acre, really just a golden goose egg for us to think about the next generation of middle income and housing for our community. So we have opportunities, and we're going to seize on them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Teresa. All right, so we're going to move on now to Casey Hedrick with the Early Childhood Council of Boulder County. Talk a little bit about our kids here.
Okay, thanks so much for having us and excited to talk about this. Okay, here's the light. Okay, childcare in Boulder County is one of the most expensive in Colorado, yet childcare providers often earn poverty-level wages. As the city council members, what concrete steps would you take to make childcare more affordable for families and sustainable for childcare providers in our area?
All right, Maxwell Lord.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, to even answer the earlier big three, I would say that early child care is probably number 1 or 2 for me. I do think that it is the most important issue. And every other issue ultimately stems from it. You know, you have Bessel van der Kolk all the way to Mr. Rogers would say that early childhood education is the best investment in a community we can make. We obviously have had Frozen Sea Camp. We've got, you know, inaccessible childcare prices, but to your point, we're paying preschool teachers $13 an hour, and I don't think that we're up against, you know, big childcare extorting parents. I think that a lot of what they're facing is exorbitant rent, and I would like to see better rent control for childcare facilities so that we can have more of them. When we have empty retail space, but we have limited childcare facilities, I think that's quite telling. But in short, yeah, I think that would be one of our greatest issues.
All right. And thanks for holding to that 1 minute. And I know you probably can't see our sign holder, so we'll go with the next question.
Okay. The Colorado Child Care Assistance Program, CCAP, which is one of the only child care subsidies in our community that helps to serve low-income families, has been on a freeze in Boulder County for over a year. Currently, there are over 700 eligible children on that wait list. What would you do to help address this issue?
All right, now we've got, we already asked you a question once, so I grabbed the wrong basket. Technical difficulties, we'll do this again. Councilmember Spear.
Thanks so much for asking this question and for being here tonight. I'm really excited to see you all represented. And I just want to acknowledge Commissioner Levy, who's in the auditorium. I'm not sure if Commissioners Lotamine and Stoltzman are here as well. But they've been doing a lot with impossible circumstances to try to meet this need. And as you know, Casey, I've been working with you and a group, John with the Chamber, the school districts, to try to think about how we can look toward funding a child care district, an early child care district, where people from ages 0 to 3 could join into having access to childcare. I think it's a promising group that has come together to try to figure out a solution to this really tricky problem of how we provide childcare when it is so expensive and out of reach for more and more people and so central to our economy in Boulder County. And I think that these partnerships, that's how we continue to do this work of trying to figure out a solution to a really challenging problem at the moment with costs so expensive.
All right. Well, in keeping with the child care theme, we're going to do a little arts and crafts, or maybe you can just pick up your whiteboard one more time here. Grab your whiteboards, and when you're ready, take your number 2 pencil. No. So, what is the average cost for 2 children in childcare here in Boulder County? What is the average cost for 2 children in childcare here in Boulder County? You know, the ages change, all those things. Average cost for 2 children in childcare, 15 seconds. Average cost per year. For 2 children. And I will go down the line again. And so we have everything from 36,000, 25,000, frowny face, approximately 30,000, no idea, 30,000, 45K, 36K, full-time for infant care, 45,000 per year, 24K, and I believe that's 50,000 online. So we pulled this up from the Common Sense Institute, who just released a report that said the average cost of childcare per month per child is about $16.45 in Boulder County, the highest in the state, which translates to approximately $30,000 to $40,000 per year. I would say give yourselves a round of applause if you got a right answer, but this is actually a really hard question to answer here and something that we all need to face. So thank you all for responding to our next lightning round question. So with that being said, we're going to ask 2 candidates at random the following question. Now that we know that the average cost of childcare for 2 children can exceed $30,000 per year, more than in-state tuition at university just down the road, as a city council member, what steps would you take to make childcare more affordable for local families? So what steps would you take to make childcare more affordable for local families? I'm going to pick a couple names here. And we'll start with, all right, Lynn, we're all here to listen to the question here. So we're going to start with Mayor Pro Tem Folkerts. 2 mics, all right.
Childcare is critical infrastructure. It's one of the biggest expenses families face, and in Boulder, it is often hard to find and harder to afford. If we want to keep Boulder welcoming to young families, we need to take real steps to make childcare more accessible. We need to partner with local providers and nonprofits to expand access and capacity. We need to cut red tape to make opening new childcare centers easier. We need to support wage growth and training for early childhood educators so the workforce is stable and high quality. And we need to expand city funding for programs like our child care subsidy program. Additionally, we need to advocate at the state and county level for stronger childcare funding to match the scale of need. Making childcare affordable isn't just about families. It's about economic vitality, equity, and keeping Boulder a community where all generations can thrive. Thank you.
All right, next up, Max Lord.
Yeah, actually, I pretty much agree with Lauren on that one, and quite frankly, I agree with Lauren on a lot of them. That was pretty spot on. But to echo what I was saying earlier, I do think that the exorbitant rents make it difficult for more early childhood care facilities to be open, and I would like to see that subsidized.
All right. Moving on to the next question here. So next up, I want to invite the Boulder County Latino Chamber, represented by Carla Colleen, to come on up and ask their questions.
Hello, everyone. My first question is, Boulder has long a commitment as a sanctuary city, which has meant limiting local law enforcement cooperation with federal immigration authorities like ICE on civil immigration matters. How do you view the importance of maintaining this policy to ensure that all Boulder residents, regardless of immigration status, feel safe reporting crimes and accessing essential city services? What specific steps would you take to defend and strengthen Boulder's non-cooperation policies in the face of potential federal pressure or changes in federal policy?
All right. Councilmember Spear, come on up.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do in our community to advocate for our families. We need to stay a sanctuary city. We do, period. It's in line with Boulder's values, and I think that's what a majority of our community wants. As far as what we can do, I've been very impressed with the work of Chief Redfern and our police department in creating stronger relationships with the Latino community and the immigrant communities in Boulder to make sure that people understand the city's role in law enforcement and what we will and will not do in the community. That's how we're creating some of the relationships that are helping people feel safer coming forward when they're victims of crime. We need to make sure moving forward that we're electing people who will stand up against this federal administration and any anti-immigration policies that come knocking on Boulder's front door. That's going to be really essential. Immigrants are a backbone of every community, and they are embedded here in Boulder, and as neighbors, we need to stand up for each other too.
Thank you. Given the current federal administration's policies, which have raised concerns about their impact on vulnerable populations, what specific local initiatives or programs would you champion to provide a direct safety net and support for Boulder residents who may be disproportionately affected, such as immigrants, refugees, low-income families, or those seeking healthcare access?
All right, we're going to pick two names here. We have Councilmember Benjamin and Councilmember Wallach. Wow.
Thank you so much for that question. And more importantly, I think what Councilmember Spear said was really important with regards to where our values lead us on this issue, and certainly with regards to how our immigrant community is essentially, as Nicole Spear said, a backbone of our community. And what are those safety nets? Well, one of the big things we need to do is to make sure that, especially as it pertains to the threat that our immigrant community faces, is that they know their rights. And I think that's an important part where the city can play a role, is that they know their rights. And most importantly, one of the key aspects that I think is where we want to go from there is with regards to how do we help our immigrant community know exactly what resources are available to them. And one of the things the city can do is thinking about legal fees. And I think that there's a way to access and help connect with nonprofit legal help for a lot of the challenges that our immigrant community is facing these days. And I think those are keys. And that's one of the best things. And safe and secure housing is another great aspect that I think we're really missing the mark on for certainly a lot of our immigrant communities. So there's a lot of aspects that we can keep doing, and we will continue to support them to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. And also, thank you to Carla for getting the fashion memo earlier today. So, well done. Thank you. All right, so, Mark.
Okay, let's try this again. I take a little bit of issue with the premise of the question. We do provide many, many programs. If you go on the city's website, you'll see a list of 20 or 25 programs that we fund that perform exactly those functions, to provide a safety net for people. Whether it's EFA or one of the other organizations, we do fund them. What we need to do is fund them better. And unfortunately, in our current economic position, that is very difficult. I think we need to consolidate some of our funding, make it more effective, have a better view of what is going to work and what is not going to work. But we are committed to providing safety net programs. We do it in great detail. And I think, again, when economic conditions are better, I'm hopeful that we can increase funding for those safety net programs. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Carla. All right. So before we get to our next question with Sue Prant, Sue, you can come on up. But as we go, we're going to go to another lightning round question, folks, because the first three weren't that exciting. And Sue, you can make your way up here because this has to do with actually some transportation here. So actually, you know what? I'm going to skip that one because I lost my place. So the great fire drill, everyone. We're going to invite Sue Prant up to ask a question. So, all right, you guys are more on top of it than I am tonight, and that's okay because I'm not running. All right. Sue with Community Cycles, everyone.
Hello. Okay, first question. Oh, do I pick or answer the question first? Okay. Many cities have adopted one-way downtown streets in the that had adopted one-way downtown streets in the 70s are now converting them back to two-way streets. These cities report decreased crime, increased property values, and higher business revenues after the conversion. Do you support studying a one-way to two-way street conversion for downtown Boulder? Why or why not?
All right, one name out of the hat here. Lucky
Bob.
Rob Kaplan.
Rob, sorry.
Well, I'm going to say this is kind of a softball question because it's enhancing safety, better business conditions, and improved navigation. When you've got statistics like this, of course you have to explore it. I'm always a big fan of the simplest solution is usually the best, and this is a pretty simple solution. To look at this, I would, of course, look at the funding. Do we have the funds to change those streets? But if it does help our business community, and if it increases safety, like I think of my child growing up, and when he was riding from one house to school, I want him to be as safe as possible on these streets. If it helps our business, I'm 100% for it. Bringing in more tax revenue will help us with all the projects that we love, even some that are above and beyond what we maybe need. And improved navigation, I mean, we've got Sundance coming, and we've got visitors that we completely depend on. If this city is easy to get around and manage, 100%.
Oh, that's it. Question 2. The high level of bike theft and unsafe road conditions are frequently cited by residents as the primary reason they avoid bicycling. What strategies could effectively reduce bike theft and increase people's confidence in using bikes for regular transportation?
First up is Aaron.
I'm glad I got this question. I am a PEV rider myself. Specifically, I ride an electric unicycle. People give me strange looks coming down the street. It's a lot of fun. I think we need to have better PEV laws on the path. Strict 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. Stop looking at what they're capable of and judge the behavior on the path. Boulderites are using all kinds of different vehicles to get around. Some of these things are as small as a piece of luggage. They can take it into a store with them. For bikes, I'm also looking at possibly having maybe a bike check service, also putting out more places that people can lock up their bikes in specific areas. We already have bike registrations, but a lot of people forget to use them. So perhaps increase awareness around that as well. So yeah, this is something I feel very strongly about, and I hope we can have an opportunity to change it because Boulder has great bike paths and we can actually be the test bed for the rest of the country. Thank you.
All right, and cycling over to Councilmember Benjamin.
Thanks for your question, Sue. Appreciate that. And thanks for the work at Community Cycles. It's one of our most treasured community organizations, and in many ways has led to a lot of great work in our community, so thank you so much. You know, bike theft has become, and has been growing an issue, and certainly during COVID was sort of reaching its peak. You know, where I think bike theft has an opportunity for us, one is it's worth knowing that from crime statistic-wise, that a lot of that bike theft was from organized crime rings that were coming to do a lot of bike thefts. And so I got to give credit to our Boulder Police Department for working with the DA's office to actually crack those rings and get people in jail, held accounted for those massive bike thefts. But that doesn't mean that we still don't have an issue outside of those rings, and we do. One of those big things is I think that is mentioned is bike check. Certainly events are great solutions to this. I think registering their bikes, I'd like to see that done at the sale in Boulder, that it is automatically registered, because having an extra step means it doesn't get done. And so I think those are ways to streamline it and make it easier for folks to know that if their bike gets stolen, they can reclaim that. Thank you.
All right, and thank you to Community Cycles. So next up now, great fire drill with the whiteboard. This time it's real. So it's real, folks. We are going to go to our next lightning round question. And this one is going to be about the minimum wage. What is the minimum wage in the city of Boulder? What is the minimum wage in the city of Boulder? 15 seconds. 5 seconds remaining. Minimum wage in Boulder. 3, 2, pencils down, sheets up. All right, let's take a look here. We've got $15.57, approximately $15 an hour, approximately $15.50 an hour. I think I see $15.75, $17.25, $15.57, $15.50, $15.57 an hour for non-tipped employees, $15 an hour, question mark, and $15.50. So, what is the correct answer? Well, we have to look up on the board here, and no extra credit given, but we actually have two answers, right? We have $15.57 an hour, unless you're a tipped employee, in which case there's a tip credit, in which case it is $12.55 an hour. Now, the city of Boulder has recently increased the minimum wage and above what the state minimum wage is. And now the state has said that the tip wage credit is something that cities can tackle. So with the state now allowing cities to adjust the tip wage credit for workers that make above the minimum wage, I'm going to ask two of you here this question. How would you consider adjusting the tip wage to credit? How would you consider adjusting the tip wage credit to provide a more sustainable economic environment for our local restaurants? So I'm going to pick two names at random here out of my red hat. I'm not sure who wears this as a hat, but we're going to go for it anyway. And we're going to go with Jennifer Robbins first and Rachel Isaacson second. So Jennifer, if you want to take it away first.
I'm just going to read the question before you start the time.
How would you consider adjusting the tip wage credit?
Tip wage credit, I would leave the tip wage credit where it is. I think that when I was growing up, I was a server. I know how it goes to be a tipped employee. I think that the restaurants, in order to survive, need to maintain the tip credit, so I would leave it alone. And I also just want to take my time to say something about me. I am not the kind of person who will just provide oxygen to the type of behavior that we had earlier. In my opinion, thank you, I will walk off the stage every time that happens and signal the police, and I would do the same thing in council chambers because the people on the stage do not deserve to be treated that way. So please know that about me. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there. Thank you.
All right, Rachel.
That's right.
All right, Rachel. All right, Lynn, one more time, I'm just going to ask, we've all agreed to listen to each other here. And I'm going to invite you, if you cannot agree to what we've already discussed, I'm going to ask you to consider leaving. All right. If there's another interruption, I'm going to ask you to, you're informed. All right. With that, Rachel, do you need a minute? They'll turn it on. There you go.
I'm so glad I was asked this because I actually earned that wage. And so thank you, Jenny, for advocating for it to leave it alone, because I personally would not be able to afford my rent if that were to change. And while I really support local businesses and I don't want to see them close, and I have these conversations with my employer, and they also don't want to see this change because we want to see a thriving working community. I want to see my friends be able to stay. I know many of my other folks that work and make that wage. Also, we're trying to just feed ourselves in a very bottom level. And I also just want to take some time to say that I am very compassionate for people who are speaking their concerns right now. And I just appreciate everyone holding space for these really, really tough times.
All right, next up, we have our very own Devin Edgley Wells, who it will be asking the Boulder Community Foundation's questions here. So, Devin, when you're ready you were about to chime yourself there. I was a little concerned there. But no, Devin, thank you for helping with the Community Foundation today. Feel free.
Thank you. On behalf of the Community Foundation, how much do you think it costs for a family of 4 to live in the city of Boulder? Councilmember Wallach.
Frankly, that's an impossible question. Under what circumstances are people living? Are they living in the Peloton or in a rental in South Boulder? It takes an income of about $204,000 to buy a median income house in Boulder. That, of course, makes that housing unaffordable to everybody up to and including 120% of the adjusted mean income. So we know that the housing is unaffordable. What it takes to live in Boulder is simply a function of how one lives. It is clear that too many people have too little money and are incapable of enjoying Boulder as they ought to because they cannot find adequate housing. They are food challenged, et cetera. But I don't think there's one number that determines how we live in Boulder.
Thank you. On behalf of Community Foundation, what percentage of the City of Boulder workforce would qualify for affordable housing? Councilmember Benjamin.
I thought that was a lightning round. It's like a number. Great question, Devin. Thank you. What's interesting is the Community Foundation Trends Report, I think, stated to Mark Wallach's question that the number was 107,000 for a family of 4, and that was the Community Foundation's Trends Report number. With regards to affordable housing, I don't know the exact number, so I'll just be honest with you with that. But what I do know is that it is a problem in our community, and that over 52% of our community rents. And we are trying to get to our goal of getting to 15% of our housing inventory being deed restricted affordable over the next handful of years. So we are on a trajectory to try to provide that, and we have a lot of work to do. I will say, to make things more affordable, I am interested in looking at how we can do better rent protection for our community. So things that look along the lines of, providing advance notice for rent increases for renters, so they have times to plan and adapt and make changes financially to either meet that or move. So there's some ways there, and I think we absolutely, since we have a gubernatorial race, I'd love to make sure we get a governor that looks to abolish rent control in the state of Colorado.
Thank you.
Devin's doing double duty here as our chime ringer here. I probably could have grabbed that, so. All right.
Maxwell Lord, would you like me to restate the question?
It's howling wind. Did you say, was I the second one chosen?
I didn't. Okay. What percentage of the City of Boulder workforce would qualify for affordable housing?
Oh, it's about a quarter. And I mean, it's about below 60% of median, and median's 102,000. I believe I also got it from Community Foundation, and I came up with a statistic about a quarter. I had to add the statistic from bar chart, but it is a simple question. It's a number. I don't know if you'd like me to expand on that. I suppose I have the whole minute, but to echo the councilman's point, it's bad. The housing and inaccessible housing and rent are probably one of the greatest challenges that we're facing.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move on next to our next lightning round. We're going to shift gears a little bit to public safety here. So I'm going to encourage everyone to grab their whiteboards. So we've heard a little bit already about property crime here today. And that was interesting because it was on our minds too. So between August 2024 and today, according to our city's public safety website, how many total property offenses have occurred from August of last year to today? How many property offenses have happened from August 2024 to today? Property crimes. So this is everything from robbery, larceny, vandalism. So it ranges. It's on the city's website. We are at just a little over time, but we'll give you 3 more seconds. Next time we'll work on some theme music too with this wonderful artistic community. All right, so I'm going to move from my right to left. Max, we can't quite see what you're saying. Could you read it for me?
Yeah, I put 500.
All right, so we have 500. We have 1,600, question mark. 6,500. 225. Is that 240 or 246? 240. All right, we've got 1,441. Excellent year. We've got somewhere between 0 and 1,000. I hope we get to 0. Too much, and 6,000. Correct answer is, according to the most recent data as of today, 6.5K, 6,500 total offenses. So well done on that one as well. So moving along with that question here, what we're going to do is we're going to ask a couple questions here to a couple of candidates. If elected, how will you as a city councilor work with law enforcement to make community events safer? So once again, I'm going to ask the question just one more time. How will you as a city councilor work with law enforcement to make community events safer? And what are your top priorities on public safety if you're elected? So I've got, first up, Rob Smoke.
In terms of working with law enforcement, the first thing I see is that morality and making morality first priority counterfeits a lot of our efforts. If we're not willing to do that, if we're not willing to say that starving children do come first, they do require our attention. And we can't escape from that and expect relationships between the community and the police to just happen along a normal path where everybody gets along. Our inability to place morality first harms us in ways that we don't see a lot of the time. That's what I have to say about it.
All right, next up. Same question. We're going to give that to you. Actually, I got to shuffle the names back. We are going to give that to whoever I shuffle in here. Not Rob. All right. And we have Councilmember Wallach.
There we go. I disagree with the prior speaker. I think the first issue with respect to the police is public safety. And to achieve public safety, I have been supportive of the police. I've been supportive of the full funding and full staffing of the police department. I think we've now achieved full staffing. And frankly, my view is if we had to do more, I wouldn't be happy about it, but I would do more, because I regard public safety as the fundamental, the foundational element of what any government has to provide its citizens. People have to be safe in their homes and safe on the streets and safe on our open space, and you only do that by being supportive of the police. And I have that relationship with Chief Redfern, and he knows of that support, and I will continue to do that if I'm reelected. Thank you.
All right, next up we have the Boulder Area Rental Housing Association. Ryan Schneider, why don't you come on up here and join us? And we've got 2 questions from the Rental Housing Association, so when you're ready.
Thank you. Given the significant challenges that many housing providers face with electrification, including utility delays, prohibitive costs, and the limits of Boulder's current power grid, how would you, if elected, ensure that the city's climate policies are implemented in a way that is both practical and equitable for all homeowners and property owners, especially those who have already invested heavily in past energy efficiency upgrades such as smart regs?
First up, Mayor Pro Tem Volkers. Mark, do you want to hand the mic?
Thank you. Somewhere in here. Appreciate the patience.
Sure thing.
Yes. Given the significant challenges that many housing providers face with electrification, including utility delays, prohibitive costs, and the limits of Boulder's current power grid, how would you, if elected, ensure that the city's climate policies are implemented in a way that is both practical and equitable for all homeowners and property owners, especially those who have already invested heavily in past energy efficiency upgrades such as smart regs?
Thank you for the question. As an architect, this is really important to me. I think that it is crucial that we move forward on our climate goals, but we do have to be conscious of what our shifting regulations do for particularly existing housing stock. You know, working in with Excel is always fun. Don't avoid it if you can. But, you know, I think that there's a number of things we can do. We're working, right now, the city is working on an on-bill repayment program that I'm really excited about to help fund upgrades through utility bills, and we are working with Excel on that, so thank you. But basically, we need to give a long runway to these kinds of changes and work with property owners to make sure that they understand the requirements and the funding available to help support the modifications. Thank you.
Rob Kaplan.
I strongly agree with Boulder's climate goals, but they have to be implemented in a way that's equitable and practical. Too often homeowners, and they're facing the utility delays and prohibitive costs, grid limitations that make electrification, easy for me to say, out of reach. I would prioritize the highest upgrades first, while ensuring incentives and financial tools are in place so that low and middle income households aren't left. I'd also advocate for stronger coordination with Excel and state regulators to address utility delays and the expansion of the grid in order to hold all this, be able to support all this is what I'm trying to say. We don't want anybody unfairly penalized for early adopters who are in the Smart Regs program. So climate action is essential, but we have to make sure it's rolled out financially and carefully.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Boulder's wildfire hardening rules currently apply only to new construction or additions. Do you believe existing homes with no changes should also be required to comply, or should the city focus on incentive-based programs for retrofitting? How would you ensure that there is not a significant financial burden on homeowners and rental property owners?
Councilmember Spear.
Thank you so much for the question. So I was one of the folks on council who was arguing against requiring the retroactive changes because of the cost burden, but not just to homeowners and property owners, but also to the city. Any new enforcement takes a lot of resources, and as you may have heard a couple thousand times by now, we're in a very constrained budget situation. So I am very interested in thinking about how we can do incentives to help people get there, and education as well, because when I talk to our fire chief and some of the other folks involved in this in the city, they tell me that if they had $100 to spend on wildfire prevention, they would spend 95 of them on education. It really does help, and my family is a great example of that. A year and a half ago, we had a wildfire home assessment, which I highly recommend. It took us about a year and a half to save up the funds to be able to make some of the changes that were recommended in that report, but we got there because we were educated and we knew it was important.
Thank you again to our partner. All right, in case you haven't gotten the system down quite yet, we're going to go to our whiteboards again. Didn't know that physical dexterity was going to be part of this, but here we go. All right, 15 seconds to answer this question. If you don't know the answer to this, we've got a lot more questions for you, actually. How did you get to the Boulder City Council Candidate Forum today? How'd you get here today? If you need 15 seconds, that's okay. Two seconds remaining. I see some artistic exaltations here. All right, we're gonna go from my left to right again. And Max, if you want to hold your sign up here. How'd you get here? Did you have the best parking? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
I thought
well
that was
done.
A joke. I mean,
All
I
right.
didn't even write anything.
All right, we've got walk and bound bus. Carpool, thought about a kayak, though. Drove, electric car. I drove an EV, would have biked, but for the rain. I drove umbrella that's crying, is that right? Sorry, oh, it's rain, okay. Car, frowny face, because sometimes you have to. I wanna give we will do a Pictionary round, not this year. But moving on to looking at transportation. Considering the current budget climate, what are your top transportation priorities if elected to City Council? So in the current budget climate, what are your top transportation priorities? I'm going to pull two names out of the hat here, 1 and 2. And we've got Jennifer Robbins followed by Councilmember Benjamin.
My top transportation priorities first would be to finish the Diagonal project because I live in Gun Barrel. And I've said in the past, I feel like sometimes I think Boulder's trying to keep me particularly out because the Diagonal is under construction, 61st is under construction, Arapahoe is under construction. So I think that we have to finish the current projects that we have. In addition to that, I think that we have to continue work on the CAN. I think that the former council and this council has done a really nice job of getting it completed. We have a lot of well-protected bike lanes, well-protected pedestrian walkways, and we have to continue that work. We have the project on Iris that's happening, as well as potential projects on 30th and Folsom. I think all of those need to be looked at and implemented in a way that benefits the community the most. Thank you.
All right, everybody stand up. I'm seeing yawns, glazed looks. Everybody stand up. Come on, stand up, stand up. Get some energy. Move that blood. Yeah, everybody stand. Move that blood. All right. Stretch, do what you want to. If you want to ignore what I'm saying, that's fine too. So Councilmember Rachel Friend and I actually introduced the Core Arterial Network Project, affectionately known as CAN. And I'm proud to say that CAN has now become the culture in our transportation department. And that is quite monumental because we are data driven. We are focusing on where our highest crash rates occur, and we are investing in those intersections to make it safer so that we can measure the success and reduce the accidents that occur on those streets. The things that I'm really looking forward to achieving is in this financial constraint is one, trying to finish the capital improvements for CAN because they're going to require state and federal funding. And if that's going away, our biggest job to do is to fight for that funding to finish those projects that have been designed. But knowing that we're in that constrained environment, we need to maybe pivot a little bit to start thinking about some smaller scale budgets that the city can actually afford to complete and not be so reliant on that federal and state money. But still within the framework of CAN to be data driven to find a way to do that. And last but not least, I think while we're looking in this constrained environment, we need to be thinking about the maintenance of our roads. And we need to be thinking about those core services that we've got to provide in our city. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't know if those lightning round questions were a little, anxiety producing, but thank you for asking that. And then we've got just a couple of questions remaining here. So we're going to go to our last 3 questions here. So thank you for the stretch break there. I feel better already. We've got a little more flexibility in mind. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go, once again, from stage left to stage right. We've got a couple of questions that popped up. So stage left to stage right means that Max will not give you the microphone. But we're going to ask the first question is going to be on the CCRS tax. A lot of conversation around CCRS. So, on the renewal of the CCRS tax, as a candidate, do you support the renewal? And how would you use those funds for the arts community so a prior recipient of those dollars can get their fair share? Once again, on the renewal of the CCRS tax. As a candidate, do you support the renewal? And how would you earmark those funds for the arts community? Max, why don't you jump in first? And we'll just go down the line.
Sure. Yeah, am I coming through?
Yes.
Lovely. That's an easy one. I mean, something like 60% of people support it, which is a lot for a tax. It's a pretty marginal sales tax. It represents an additional $15 million for the city. Yeah, I would absolutely support it. I do understand the necessity for a certain level of flexibility when we have funds, but I think it is important as well that we do follow through on our promises and what we want to do with those funds, like, you know, the rec center being an obvious example.
All right, moving on down the line. Rob.
Yeah, well, briefly, I would say when you put words in that are sort of vague, like resiliency, we could probably go through this audience here and have, 50 to 100, however many people are here, give different answers to what resiliency actually means. To me, it means having a city council that responds to every question that's brought before it, even if it seems really difficult, like the question with Israel and Palestine. Even if it seems like something that we want to postpone, that we want to push away from us. And so I think, a tax on sales of food and stuff is a little bit regressive. I do feel somewhat supportive of it, but again, vague language and also having such a lack of clarity in terms of accountability with our current city council. I see that as a really big hurdle to overcome. Thanks.
So on the CCRS tax, yes, I do support it, and I hope that a majority of Boulder voters will as well. It's essential. We have an almost $400 million backlog of capital infrastructure improvements in the city that we really need to get working on. And as far as earmarking funds from that, I am supportive of the way that the tax currently works, which is that 10% of the funds raised go toward infrastructure, capital infrastructure for nonprofits. That program was developed in partnership with a number of nonprofits, including some in the arts community, as to how we implement that. And I will say that earmarking funds in the first place is a part of why we are in the financial situation that we are in. It really is important that we strive for more flexibility in how we're able to spend our funds so that we can respond to emergencies. So I would not be in favor of earmarking more funds from that, but I am supportive of continuing the 10% of the profits, or not profits, but 10% of the revenues going toward nonprofits.
Jenny.
I'm supposed to get the same question. Oh, I don't even remember. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so do you support the renewal of the CCRS tax, and how would you earmark those funds at all for the arts community?
I do support the CCRS extension, and I think that Boulder is the kind of city that has always been kind of founded on the arts. It is such a wonderfully vibrant community with such amazing artists, and we have a lot of venues that I think that we can utilize better. And recently I was in Tulsa, and while I was there, there was a family who's tried to gentrify that city, and they bought the entire Bob Dylan collection of music, and then they built a museum for Guthrie and Dylan. And in a city like Tulsa, it was one of the most amazing. There were so many people there, and it was really exciting. And we need to continue to draw people into Boulder for our economy, for our businesses, and we have to find ways to do that. And I think that utilizing some of the money, like we have now dedicated towards the arts, we should continue to do that in order to bolster our economy. Thank you.
Rob.
I also support the CCRS tax. When you're giving these funds out, I think some of the funds need to be dedicated to the people that have been receiving them, and have it also open to new and vibrant members of the community, the arts community. The arts community doesn't just take the money and use it for their specific organizations. They leverage that money, and they create events, And what that does is it pulls visitors and community members into our community. And those tax dollars are seen in the hotel stays, in the restaurants, and in the shops. So I believe it's a really important thing to extend, and it's basically, in my opinion, leveraged money that really gives back to the community. Thank you.
Aaron.
Hi. I'll be the first to admit I didn't know a lot about CCRS before I came here tonight, but I did some research and found that it does go towards several different things, not just the arts, including fire mitigation and transportation maintenance as well, which are all important. I had the opportunity to talk with somebody about Proposition 2A coming up as before the conference started today, and realized that this really needs to be funded. I'm actually in the arts myself, and I know firsthand what it's like to have several of your performances cut because of DEI cuts. I have a friend in the audience tonight that's part of our group, and we missed several shows because of that. So I think it's really important to make those funding efforts because it gives people to experience culture from other places, and through that, it can promote understanding among all people. Thank you.
I am a very strong supporter of the CCRS extension. We have $380 million of unfunded capital expenditures for which we have no prospect of funding. And that includes operating 2 firehouses out of single-family residences. We have bridges to maintain. We have buildings to maintain. We have an aging police department that's going to require work, and we have many other buildings that we need to bring up to our environmental standards. So if you asked every one of us, we would probably say that the most important thing you can do in November is to vote for us. But I suggest that the most important thing you can do this November is to vote for the CCRS extension because it is so vital to our future. Thank you.
Mark, you took my words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the most important thing you can do is absolutely support the CCRS tax. It is not just for us or the near term, it is for future generations to build the infrastructure that'll be here for the next 40 to 50 years. It's an investment in our current and future. So make sure that you vote for that. So as you no surprise, I fully support the CCRS tax and its in perpetuity extension. We don't need to come back. I think this tax is not a new tax. It's an extension of an existing one. And each time we come back to the voters, it is passed with overwhelming support. And I expect that to kind of stay the same for quite a long time. With regards to the arts, it's important to know that the voters did pass a tax that would dedicate money to the arts. And so the arts are made whole in a way that they've never been before. And it's important to think about our current budget cuts. We're facing a $7.5 million shortfall this year, and the arts are safe because of that vote to have dedicated taxes. They would have been in a very tough spot facing cuts like other departments if that weren't for the voter-approved tax that you guys got. So thank you guys for your support for the arts.
Rachel.
I just want to say I appreciate Matt's energy. Is everyone still awake out there? We're almost done. So as a candidate, I support the renewal of CCRS tax and would advocate for a transparent and equitable process in allocating funds into the arts community. This means clear criteria for grants, regular reporting, and community input on funding priorities. I'd also look for ways to expand access to art programs, particularly for underserved communities, so everyone in Boulder can benefit. It's crucial that prior recipients continue to receive support and that new applicants have fair access to funding opportunities. Ensuring that the allocation process aligns with the intentions of the voters and meets the needs of the arts community is essential for maintaining trust and fostering a vibrant cultural landscape in Boulder. Thank you.
All right, Lauren.
I feel like I should change it up just to create some controversy, but I'm not going to. I also support renewing the CCRS tax. In the long term, we need to move our city's funding away from sales tax and towards property tax, but like Mark went into great detail on, we just have too much unfunded need right now, and this is a crucial tax for us to pass. I support earmarking the 10% of the funds that are going to be earmarked for arts and nonprofit infrastructure, but we need to fix our backlog of infrastructure projects. Boulder's CCRS tax has been a vital investment in our community, and I appreciate the transparency in distribution, and I will work to make sure we focus funds where they have the most impact and have regular review from the community input so the funding evolves with Boulder's needs. Thank you.
All right, and Lauren, we're not going to let you get too far away here, so we're just going to go back down the line the other way here for the sake of speed and also lack of paper cuts, which I'm going to have to do some Band-Aid write-offs and business expenses later on. So we've heard a lot recently about homelessness. As a matter of fact, the City Council just recently had a study session based on a third-party review of some of the services and opportunities that are either taken advantage of or missed in homelessness. And we're hearing a lot from not just our business community, but community members at large who have multitude of concerns. So based on the most recent report to the City Council, if elected, what would be your priorities as it relates to homelessness? And we'll go back down the line, just my right to left. Lauren, take it away.
Thank you for that question. We hear time and time again that homelessness is one of the most impactful issues to our community. I really appreciated the update that we got on City Council. They framed our potential, how we could solve homelessness. They looked at how much it would cost us to solve homelessness in our community. And so for $24 million a year, more than what we're currently spending, we could do that. And I think that we don't have space in our budget for that right now, but we do need to figure out how close we can get, because that is by far the most important thing to the community, and that investment would have major repercussions that would be helpful in so many ways, helpful in people's lives, helpful for our downtown and our small businesses. And I think that the report goes into great detail. I strongly support everything that's in it. Thank you.
Rachel.
Hey everyone. So my dad was actually a homeless vet growing up, and I know the impacts that has on children who are children of the parents who are also very much so struggling right now. And so something that really troubles me, and something that I also saw in the report, is that the #1 indication for adult homelessness is childhood homelessness. And right now, the only youth homeless shelter closed in Boulder, and that devastates me, because I have friends that work at the Longmont Library who see children staying at the library now just to be able to survive. I also want to see more prevention done, especially protecting renters who are most at risk for homelessness here. And I also want to see us do more to provide mental health support and substance abuse support, and also keep everyone safe, because I've also heard from unhoused people that they're also afraid of other folks who may be more unsafe than them. So yeah, this is a very hard issue, and I hope that we can tackle it together over the next 3 years.
Matt.
So I fully support the Clutch report, and this was done by a nationally recognized consultant team, and they've helped many communities work their way through the challenges of homelessness. This report is incredibly important for us because it charts a new path for us. We've had a strategy for a long time, and we've kind of sort of reached the end or the climax of that previous strategy's ability to create effective outcomes. And this new strategy gives us a little bit of light and hope for a lot of folks who've been seeing that we've been sort of stuck in a quagmire, in a closed loop. So I think that we should all get behind this report and this new strategy and really think about how we can invest in it and find those partnerships going forward. A couple things that I will highlight in particular about this is it's focused on shortening the stay of folks in our community, and about thinking about how to divert people. If they're coming in here and folks are coming in and maybe heading somewhere else, and how do we get them back to where they actually want to go? So these are ways in which if they are hanging out in our system, then they're likely to be homeless longer in our system, and then it makes it harder for them to get out of homelessness. So please support this work and continue to support the city and how we decide to end homelessness. Thank you.
Mark.
I've read the consultant's report a couple of times. I have a little bit of a problem with it because it's a plan of action that requires $13 million a year above and beyond what we spend today, and we don't have the money. However, there are elements of the plan that I think are worthwhile and can be implemented immediately. The plan calls for an emphasis on diversion. It calls for an end to what is now called rough sleeping or camping outdoors. And I think both of those are strategies worth pursuing. We're also moving services up to the shelter out of Central Park, and I think that will have a beneficial impact on the community. So there are things that are admirable, things that I support fully, and I am happy to pray to the fiscal gods that someday we have the money to do what this report suggests we ought to do. I don't think we do at the moment, but I am hopeful.
Aaron?
So I rode up to the homeless shelter a couple of days ago because I wanted to find out what their major concerns were. And right now, they're down to, I believe it was 140 beds, and I think originally they had 160. But they said even at that level, at the original level, they still, at peak times, would have to turn away 12 to 24 people. So I think the first priority is to get the people that want that housing housed. So we need to find a way to restore funding to that. Secondly, we need to talk about public camping. Most people don't like to see it, unfortunately, but it's a reality. Many people don't want to go to those shelters. But homeless public camping is already illegal. I would suggest we still patrol major corridors around schools, around the bike trails where I've seen people sleeping with no pillows in the middle of the bike trails. It's unsafe. But also they need a place where public camping can be done. And I think we should support that. Thank you.
I'm going to come at this from a little bit different angle. You've heard about the Clutch Report. I did a ride along with the homeless outreach team, and I attended a training for the ambassadors. Vincent King, formerly a homeless person, who's an incredible guy. And what I noticed is that Officer Steinman and one of the members of the ambassadors had two different apps on their phone. One was homemade, one wasn't. They didn't communicate at all. What I see, and I saw this in the fire service, is communication. There needs to be communication between all of these amazing nonprofit organizations that are doing fantastic work. But a lot of times they have their own way of doing things. If we could have true communication between all of these organizations, maybe under an umbrella of HIPAA, where we can see where individuals are going into care, getting care, not getting care, what drugs they're on, what help they need, I think just that communication piece shared would be huge.
Jenny.
All right. So for homeless in the Clutch Report, I agree with the basic concept that was listed in the report, similar to what Mark said, with prioritization, diversion, and reunification. I think that a lot of the things that are in that report we're already doing. The shelter does take on a lot of that work now. But collaboration is key when it comes to the funding. I think we have to work with the county. There's a mental health tax that was just, that will be on the ballot coming up from the county. And it'll be on for 5 years. And I think during that period of time, during that 5 years, as a community, we need to figure out a way to make that money work more than just sprinkling it around into different organizations. We have to collaborate with the county to determine brick and mortar solutions. Maybe not based in Boulder necessarily, but we need real mental health and substance abuse care. And we have a tax that's just about to come onto the ballot that I do agree with. And I think that that's a way to help solve the problem. Thank you.
Nicole.
I was in agreement with what my council colleagues have talked about and what we talked about at our study session a couple weeks ago. This is a phenomenal report that is really looking at the need as it exists right now and how we can start to meet that need and in a way that will better serve us moving forward. They mentioned a lot of the highlights from the report. I'll just mention a couple of things that stood out for me as well. One is that this report is really focused on prevention. Which is fantastic because we can keep trying to get more people into housing as they fall into homelessness, but preventing people from falling into homelessness in the first place is a really powerful tool for making sure that homelessness doesn't keep growing. And the other thing the report did was for the first time pick out family homelessness as an issue. That is a major issue in our city, in our county, and it's one that we need to start working on with tactics, expanding tactics that we're already thinking about, like eviction prevention, support, basic needs support, emergency rental assistance, and those types of programs.
Well, I think it's great to have positive solutions and good ideas and so on, but at the present moment, if we just look around either online or maybe in even the mainstream news, we can see that the Trump administration is militarizing the solution to homelessness. And it's an outrage. And people should just be disgusted. And again, it's something that's impacted by our inability to responsibly deal with foreign policy. So we shouldn't be following in the footsteps of the people doing the worst. We should be creating the best set of circumstances that we can possibly create on our own, finding alternative housing that we can put at the edge of the city for people who are intense. And I'd really like to see that change. Thanks.
Nicole. All right. Last but not least.
All right, yeah, I'd like to commend Nicole for what she brought up in the report. I think that she's spot on with that. For what it's worth, what I'm doing right now is building houses for the homeless. I also work with Bridge House in Boulder, and I've worked with Together as well, which is a shelter in the northern side of town. Quite frankly, I think if the only thing that somebody takes away from that report is diversion, then you have really lost the plot of what is going wrong with our city. It is true that about a third have been here for less than a month, but simply shipping them away is not going to solve our problem. It's much more endemic than that. And like I said, it is more or less my life's work to challenge it. I think that we need to address the fact that many of our homeless in our town have simply fallen on hard times. Bridge House estimates about a third of them. When I shattered my arm, I had to live in my car some 10 years ago in my early 20s. And what people are up against is rent, security deposits. And we don't have naval solutions like boarding houses, hostels, where people are able to live. And I think that if we were able to offer that, instead of just imagining that we can outlaw rough camping or ship everybody away.
Thanks, Max. Thank you, Max. All right, this is the exciting last question, and I've decided to make it a little bit more interesting. What I'd like for each of you to do is grab your boards one final time, and if you'd like to take them home with you, you're more than welcome to. Maybe use them at the next debate or the next city council meeting, or just not while you're in traffic. All right, I would like to invite, does everyone have their boards? All right, this is for your, instead of a closing statement, we're going to do something a little different. And I chose some names at random in no particular order, but I'd like to start by asking Rob and Rob to come join me on the stage with a mic. Well, we'll bring you a microphone in just a second. Rob and Rob, come on up to the middle of the stage here. You've got your whiteboard. This is a lot like the dating game, folks. This is why I wore this jacket. So too often we don't see collegiality where we want it. More than a few of the candidates have mentioned this. Does everyone have, we'll give you the mic. Oh, well, you might need to write, so you may want to put the mic down for a second here. There we go. I know the rules here. Don't worry. We're all here to help. It's okay. So this is what we're going to do. Rob and Rob, I want you to take the next 15 seconds. I want you to pick an issue that you believe your competitor you could work on with that would be a priority if you were both elected to city council. You've got 15 seconds. Pick the issue that you're most excited to work on. And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question after those 15 seconds. Don't show your competitor what you're going to write. Take 15 seconds, pick an issue. Go. Five seconds. 4, 3, all right, flip those signs around, folks, so we know exactly. We have Rob Kaplan saying good governance and efficiency, and Rob Smoke saying accountability with divestment. Wow, I see some comedy a little bit already here. Comedy with an I, not an EDY, here on that accountability. Now, let's hand the mics to them. What I would like each of you to do for your closing statement, take up to a minute to say what you appreciate most about your competitor.
Do they know each other? To go way back. No.
Up to a minute. And we'll go in alphabetical order by first name. No, we'll go in alphabetical order by last name. So, Rob Kaplan, if you want to take it away, what you admire, what you look forward to, what you admire most about your competitor.
So I admire Rob's passion. He's very passionate about the divestment and international politics. I would want to bring it back to good governance and efficiency and see how we can find common ground on that and creating civil meetings and maybe find another space to address the issues that are so near and dear to your heart in a way where the city keeps its business at hand moving on, because we've got so many things to solve here in this city that I really feel like we don't even have enough time to focus on them as far as just maintaining what we have, some of the projects we have coming up, homelessness, housing, transportation, all of that.
All right. And Rob, number 2, Rob Smoke.
Well, the thing I like best about you, Rob, is you're really not dressed any better than I am. And I think it's a plus sign. So, you know, just on that basis alone, I think we could make a lot of progress. But I also feel that, you know, the issue that we're talking about, accountability in regards to divestment, I don't think it's something that should take, you know, all day or weeks and weeks and months. And we don't have that kind of time in terms of the disaster that we're confronted with. It's not to be decided 20 years from now that, oh yeah, there was a genocide back there. Damn, we missed it. We need to realize what's going on now, what the UN, but all the over 100 different humanitarian human rights agencies are telling us is a significant event.
All right, thank you both. All right, grab a seat, both of you. Hang on to those microphones in just a second because we're going to invite Matt and Nicole. I know you guys have never met. Matt and Nicole, why don't you come on up here? Same question. I can hold on to your microphone if you'd prefer, or you've got it one hand and more dexterous than I am. I'm not ambidextrous, I'm non-dexterous. So, Matt and Nicole, 15 seconds. Issue you look forward to most working on with your competitor, should you both be elected. Go. Five seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right. We've got, I'm going to go on this side first, Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan Update and Fund Our Future. All right. And we got minimum wage and tip credit. All right. So, same question. I'm going to go in the other order here. So I'm going to ask Nicole to go first. Same question that we had to Rob and Rob.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
What do you like about Rob's dress so much? at least take the next minute to talk about why it is that you appreciate Matt's approach to things and how you look forward to working with him based on who he is, what he stands for.
Awesome, thank you. Matt, I've just so enjoyed working with you and getting to know you for the past 4 years, so I feel very blessed that way. And I think, one of the things I always think about when it is campaign season again, particularly for people with kids, is the amount of dedication that it shows to be on council, to run for council. It is time away from your family in really formative years for your children. It's time away from your career, from your wife, all of that. It's really extraordinary, and it shows so much dedication, and it's really an honor to work with you. And I know you also have a long string of volunteers behind you too, who are giving up their own time with their family, with loved ones, for themselves, their sleep, all of that. But just thank you for your dedication and everything that it shows for you to be up here once again, running to be on council.
Gonna make me blush. So Nicole, we've gotten to know each other quite well, and you don't get to know people any better than when you're campaigning alongside them. And so I think that was a great start to our relationship. Something you may not, you may see this sometimes in council meetings, and maybe you don't know, but Nicole feels deep than most people I know. For people who are feeling marginalized, who are suffering, who may not have the same fair shake as the rest of us, I can think of nobody else on council who feels as deep for their pain and embodies that in the work she does to try to make it right. And that is an incredible skill to have. It's an incredible maturity to be in touch with that for others that you may have never met or only met once or you've been just told about. And that skill resounds quite well in the policies we set, because we've set policies that are meaning to help those that we maybe don't know or we don't have much connection to. And she is a champion for the voiceless. And so I just absolutely respect Nicole for that.
All right. We'll have to change the bylaws to make a motion to hug it out, always in order on city council. Thank you for that, in all seriousness, though, and truly heartfelt. And so now we are going to go, this is a little tough, because the next two folks will not be able to hug it out, unless someone wants to hug a big screen here, but Max and Jenny, come on up here. We're not going to wheel the big screen up here, so if you just want to stand next to the screen, that might be the best way to do this. Here, let's take the next 15 seconds. What is a priority issue that you look forward to engaging on together that you believe you could find some common ground? Max and Jenny, take 15 seconds. Go. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Flip those sheets around at the same time. And we have economic vitality and transportation. All right, well, you know what? This is not the dating game, so I look forward to seeing how you bring these things together. Max, we're going to let you go first here. Name something that you admire about your competitor here, even from 1,000 miles away, and how you look forward to working together.
It's a lot more than 1,000 miles. Well, as for transportation, my shop is in Gun Barrel. My wood shop is in Gun Barrel, and I have nothing but empathy for the saga of getting back and forth to Boulder, even if I just forget it forever. So I get that, Jenny. And in general, I have a lot of respect for Jenny's commitment to public service, especially as a mother. I imagine that time is quite limited to hearing Nicole's point. And yeah, Jenny has been active in our community in many capacities for a very long time, and as such, she's quite knowledgeable in policy and what it is, the nuts and bolts that keep our city running.
Thank you. And Jenny.
Thank you, Max. It's weird to talk about you. I've never met you in person. This is the first time I've ever seen you, except for on your website, which I also really like. I appreciate your conversation about small business and how important you think it is to keep our economy vital, and also the conversation that you had on your work with the homeless community, like Together, and our youth. Obviously, like you said, being a mother, I am very passionate about our youth, and I think that having somebody else on the campaign trail with us that's as passionate as I am is really important, so thank you so much for that.
All right. All right, next up, not even last, but second to last here, we have Aaron and Lauren. Aaron and Lauren. I think you've got the drill by now. You didn't know there was going to be a penmanship test on this one, but if you want to take 15 seconds to tell us, start now. 5 seconds. Hold on to your answer. 4, 3, 2. Oh, great. Kept it short. If you've got more, we'll give it a second. All right, cutting red tape from Lauren, and transportation and safety. All right, we'll get some head nods there already. So, Aaron, if you want to take it away, tell us a thing you respect, appreciate, admire, and insofar as you like to work together.
I think it's the same thing I see in everybody up here. It's a sense of caring about the community and doing what's right for Boulder. And I really hope we can come together to find solutions on some of the things we disagree about. Because I think if we come together with that sense of empathy, then we can start to understand each other and why we feel the way we do about different issues. Maybe we can come to a resolution that respects everybody and does the right thing.
All right, and Lauren, here's your mic.
Thank you. I appreciate your passion, and I think that we would have a lot to talk about related to building and development. I appreciate your experience with the city and that you understand some of the challenges that can be faced in moving forward with development projects. I think that we could do a lot together to try and build a better future for Boulder.
Thank you both. All right, last but not least, we have Rachel and Mark. If you want to make your way on up to the stage here. I think you already know the question, so I'm not going to repeat it unless you'd like me to. All right, because these two are just that efficient. We didn't give them 15 seconds. We gave them like 5 minutes here. So that's all right. We'll give you 15 if you need it, so. All right, Rachel, we'll let you go first this time.
Protecting Boulder's environmental legacy.
Protecting Boulder's environmental legacy, followed by, Mark, what do we have here? Wildfire resilience and anything Rachel cares about. Yes. Wow. All right. So, Mark, we're going to let you take it away first. Tell us what you admire, and then we'll go to Rachel next.
Well, I admire anyone who takes on the task of running for the Boulder City Council. It's arduous, it's difficult, it's not always pleasant, as I found out this evening. And if you have the commitment to do it, that is admirable. And the reason I said anything that you care about is because this job is about talking to people, not just when you agree with them, but when you don't. And that's the nature of being on council. You have to bridge gaps. You have to find ways of connecting with those who you don't agree with. And listen, I'll talk to anybody. So it's, as I said, it's the nature of the job if you want to do it well. And I would be prepared to sit down with you on any subject that you desire.
I'll take you up on that.
Rachel.
So I think Mark is really well known. He always says, I don't play ideology games. And he's out here to really connect with people in the community, and it shows. I mean, the fact that he maxed out his campaign financing is pretty impressive. Please give me tips and give me some support too, please. And yeah, I look forward to talking more with you about that. I also agree that we need to be able to have really difficult conversations with each other. And I fundamentally believe that part of our leadership is bringing our community back together, even through all the divisiveness. And I think you do a great job of that. So thank you.
All right. Does anyone wish I'd asked that question to begin with, folks? This has just been a wonderful array. So that was our final question for the evening. We do have a quick thank you to a lot of folks here. First of all, let's thank the staff at Boulder Valley School District for providing this wonderful venue. Thank you again to the Williams family and Excel for making this a free event. And also, I want to convey a special thanks to my policy team, Devin Edgley-Wells, Walker Cherry, who's been up in the back behind the mirror there, making sure all the technology works as well as possible. And then yeah, we can clap for him too. And then Darcy Kitching, who had the hardest job here, which was a huge upper body workout holding those signs up. And then Maya Cordero and her team for making sure this venue was ready, accessible for everybody. So thank you to all of our staff and our ambassadors for making sure you guys got to your seats on time so you could participate in this event. I'm going to ask our candidates to remain up here for just a moment while we take a group picture, but I want to invite our CEO, John Taylor, to come up for any closing remarks he might have.
Unscripted, but I just will say this. I want to make sure to acknowledge our partners. Again, just to make it clear, we are a community organization. Our community only thrives based on the work of all the partners you see here who ask the questions, and they're all great friends, I will note. And I thank all of you who stuck through this, and I look forward to working with all of you, whether you get elected or not. I know you will be a part and engaged in our community. You are great public servants, so thank you all. Appreciate your time. Look forward to a great election.
All right, thank you, John. All right, and thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause for being their bosses, hopefully. And one last time, let's give the candidates a round of applause, folks. Thank you for standing up, sticking through this, and we look forward to seeing you all through now in November. Hang out for just a second. Our illustrious photographer is going to take a picture, and the rest of you, feel free to either hang around, and we just have to be out of here by 8, or we get to pay more money. So let's do a group picture.